Good morning, neighbors, or should I say good night? For me, it's a little after 12 a.m. I fell asleep about 6 o'clock, so now I'm up when most people are calling it a day. So, yeah, it's early. Let's go check on my neighbors, see what they're doing. It's so quiet and dark, but it's something about being up and alert when most of the world, well, at least in your part of the world, is still. It's the time that I get to do my deepest reflection, get a few household chores in, and just really take some time for myself. I want to respond to a video that I saw by a young woman a few days ago, and it's just been on my mind. She was talking about the 92 percenters and how she feels that we are taking this inaction and quote-unquote time of rest too lightly. And I have to say I disagree. I disagree because I think as a 92 percenter, we show up for so much. I think about my own life and how I stand up for children that are mine. I stand up for colleagues in the workplace who could not seem to find their voice when injustice was imposed upon them. I think about the clients I advocate for who do not seem to have the support that is necessary to launch their lives forward. And I think that we ought to be careful as Black women particularly not to be guilted to activity and overcommit, because we too need time away from the chaos and bustle and the public sensationalism that keeps us on edge and not afford us an opportunity to exhale. So, in response to this young woman's video about what to her seems like inactivity, I want to just share some of the things that not only I do, but the women in my sphere and on my FYP pages are doing. We are waking up earlier. We're meditating. We're organizing our homes. We're indulging in things that bring us joy. As you can see, one of the things that I love to do is bring life into my home. Beauty inspires me. Once a week, I refresh my flowers. I make certain that I check in on my loved ones, my close friends. I have time to take naps and just do nothing. I've been hearing this phrase, dilly. I do a lot of that. Of course, I get my work done to maintain my life, but work is not my life. It's part of it that supports my real life. And I think about when we are expected as Black people, and more vulnerably, Black women are expected to engage in these social justice movements. My mind goes to the works of Dr. Martin Luther King, the work of Medgar Evers, the work of Malcolm X, and how that work was life supporting for us, life sustaining for us who live in their legacy. But those people are no longer here, and their families had to soldier on without them. Their children had to be raised in the absence of their greatness, only to be reminded of who they were in a 28-day history marked by Black History Month, which is being minimized and taken away from them. I remember watching a documentary of the assassination of Medgar Evers and his wife, recounting how he was taken from her and his children by a cowardless assassin in the middle of the night. She said she lay in bed with her 2 children because her husband, Medgar Evers, told her to make sure the children watch, and I believe it was the State of the Union address, and it may have been JFK, I can't recall, because I recall her reaction. She said that the children were so excited when they heard their father's car pull up along the gravel pavement outside their home. The children jumped up and said, "Daddy's home," and they rushed toward the door. But before they were able to make it to the door to greet him, they heard a loud, disruptive, disturbing boom ring out in the middle of the night. And as Mrs. Evers bolted toward the door, she swung the door open, only to see the love of her life, the father of her children, lying lifelessly on the ground in a pool of his own blood. As she recounted how she wailed and how she screamed, and that left such a chilling impression on me, because I think about all the lives that were lost prematurely, all the genius that our communities have been robbed of because of cowardice acts when people were only trying to gain the right to eat at a lunch counter, to ride in any seat they wanted on a bus, or to simply send their children to school to garner a fair education. Now, personally, myself, I respect the works and the philosophy of Dr. Martin Luther King, but quite frankly, I consider myself more of a Malcolm X alignment, because I recall being in a political science course, and I was fortunate enough to be educated by men and women who were physically active during the civil rights protest. And I recall my political science instructor telling us how during Martin Luther King civil rights era and the marching and the resistance, we hear about, how brave people were. We saw on television that people were willing to risk their lives. But what we didn't see, and the reports we didn't receive on a daily, were the people who were injured and lived with those injuries that were debilitating, the disabilities. And I remember her saying how so many people who marched with Martin Luther King had become disabled, and you never heard any more about those individuals, because while they were being peaceful, the opposition had other plans, and peace certainly was not part of it. And even thinking to 2025, fast forward, we need to understand that as Black people, we cannot just pop up in these spaces and places and proceed to protest in the fashion that was done in the 60s. And we really do need to learn from what history teaches us. And although it's quite different from the 60s till present day, we have to be purposeful and strategic. And yes, I believe during the civil rights era, they were purposeful and strategic. But what I see in present day, when we were out protesting, we were not as purposeful and strategic as we could be, given all of the resources that we have to connect and organize. And when I heard the young woman express her discontent in us resting and being inactive, it almost gave the implication that we were copping out. And that's not what we're doing. I believe that as we see women speak on rest and restoration, and we're watching Meghan Markle, and we're learning line dances, and we're talking about and discussing the hobbies that we are partaking in, it's not that we are politically and socially inactive. Oh no, it's not that at all. And I am so proud of us, because I think we are on board and we are realizing and we are moving in synergy that everything that we strive and we are earmarking to do for our community is not intended for social media consumption. And what I mean by that is, in my groups, in my circles, we do have a good time, but we are also having those hard discussions. And we are also making plans as to what we will do if A, B, C takes place. So just because people are not broadcasting their feelings or their plans or their strategic agendas on social media does not mean those discussions are not being had. So I challenge those of you who may be feeling a bit discouraged, or those of you who may feel that we need to physically be out there on these political streets, being visible and protesting and marching, to stand down, continue to stand down. Because what I see that opposition posting and talking about, and how we are blatantly being baited to behave and react in ways that, our history has demonstrated the way we move. Believe me when I tell you, our opposition knows that. And one of the things that you do not do when you are in war is make your enemy too comfortable with your reactionary plan. So, again, I'm very proud that without having a broad broadcast of what we should do next, that we're keeping our cards close to our chest, so that when we do, as Kendrick say, pop out, we're going to do it in a way that's going to produce the least amount of self-harm to our community and our families. So that's what I had to say on that. I'm up early. I got a little housework done. I made myself a breakfast. And just a lighter note, I saw a gentleman on here, and he says, "Where are all the good women? Where are all the good women hiding? We are in our homes, cleaning, making breakfast at 2 a.m. in the morning, posting videos, making floral arrangements, and unboxing all of our online orders." So, thank you for hanging out with me in the wee hours of the morning. After this, I'll go into my home gym. I'll get a workout in. I'll, relax and take a shower. And maybe I'll just listen to a little music. I keep panning over to my flowers because I adore them so. And of course, this is what else we're doing. We're reading Stacey Abrams, a.k.a. Selena Montgomery's love story, romance novel, The Perfect Persuasion. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.